can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
We're going to be telling the truth today.
Howdy.
I saw a great shirt. Hey, Teri, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Same. I am so glad to see your face. And I love the haircut.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cute.
I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
Well, you made me go. I've been going, I love my short hair too. So the only problem with my short hair is my hair grows so fast. I have to visit the hair cutter place a little bit more often,
Well, I'll have to go about every 3 or 4 weeks because when I cut my hair short, it decides that it's just going to take a whole little life of its own. And it starts growing super long, but I'm okay with that.
And it's all right. It is all right. I'm so glad. Well, you look adorable and everybody's starting to get on here and let us know where you are. And we're going to be recognizing you during the show. You guys make our show. I saw a t-shirt. That's where I was going in. I was just jumping right in. What are you going to introduce us? I'm Devon. That's Teri. Anyway, the shirt said, I just don't feel like peopling today.
Love it.
And it's that thing where, and we as our human nature is to find the good in everyone, or to try. With most people try to find the good in everyone, but there are people that can actually be bad for us. There are people out there, and this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Domestic Violence Month. And when people think of domestic violence, we understand people are married or they're living in domestic partnership and there is violence. Well, I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about the toxic boxes that we live in, and we stay there waiting for something to change. We wait to love a toxic person out of it. We try to fix things. We blame ourselves for the reason that they are the way they are. But are there people that are literally bad for us? I didn't say bad people. I'm not going to say that. People can be bad for us.
Is that a statement? Or are you asking me a question?
I'm asking you, is there such a thing that people can be bad for us? Because I know my answer, but.
Yes. Yes. There he is. A lot of it comes from modeling in our family dynamics. A lot of it comes from being people pleasers, fixers, caretakers, genuine lovers of life, and half glass full, half full kind of people.
Yeah.
I think that people in general are inherently bad. No, I think that they're wounding their life experiences. Their coping mechanisms make them unwell.
Okay.
And unhealthy. Now, there are some batshit crazy people out there. Pardon for anyone who takes offense to batshit crazy, but there are some people out there who are just mean-spirited, and we've talked about the whole narcissist and narcissistic characteristics kind of thing over before in the past. There are users out there, and then there are people who are just not good for us, and sometimes that's a fine line. Depending on where we fall in that category.
I think that a lot of damage happens when we try, we're talking square peg, round hole, when we try to do our lives so much to the point that we try to make their lives better, that we sacrifice ourselves. And that happens a lot with people. And we try to go, but there are so many good days, but they're not always this way.
Right.
But they're always remorseful. I used to go to night court with a bunch of my old lady friends. And now I look at my old lady friends that I had at that time in my life. I was in my 20s and I drove at night. And
Mhm.
I would take, and I realize now I'm the old lady friend. They were all my age, and I would take them and I would drive and I would take them. We'd go to night court down in on a Saturday night.
Girl.
Did you ever go?
Downtown?
Yeah,
Yes. I love me some night court.
I did. I loved it. It was
It
Saturday
was
night.
Jerry Springer before Jerry Springer came to be Jerry Springer.
His best for entertainment, and I would go down there and watch, and they would bring in, you know, and it was just horrible stories though. And I would watch. Now there were some funny things, and the ladies I would take, they loved it when they would bring in the drunk people because they were always hysterical, uh, not hysterical, but hysterical. But the domestic violence, I was really affected by one woman, and the judge looked at this woman who very obviously had been hurt very badly. And she was standing there. He says, "Now, this is like the fourth time you stood in front of me."
Mm.
And he said, "He's going to kill you one day.
Mm.
Will you press charges this time?" And he was there, "Honey, don't. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just," and he was so apologetic, begging her. And she says, "No, sir, I can't. I can't. I love him." And they walked out, and she was so defeated, and he looked so victorious. And it really, that I will never forget that scene as long as I live, because because I see people all the time that are not willing to pull the ripcord on their own misery.
Right.
To help somebody else. And so we're going to go to some people. We're going to open up this topic to you guys. Michelle is here. Hi, Michelle. And Elizabeth is here looking absolutely beautiful. Teri, the cut is adorable.
Well, thank you.
Oh, Corinne. Hello, everyone.
Corinne.
Please pray for me and my dog, Benny. He will go to the Rainbow Bridge next Wednesday.
Oh.
Oh, Corinne, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Elizabeth says, well, that's a mouthful. Phew, definitely. There are people that are bad for us. And continues, I am over trying to fix people. I'll always have a helping hand for friends, but I can't fix those who aren't wanting help or don't see a problem.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That is the thing. When we make excuses for someone who treats us poorly, when we take the blame for someone who treats us poorly, what we do is stop their possibility of growth. We allow them to stay in that sick and toxic mindset by allowing them to treat us that way. And will pulling a ripcord and getting yourself out of a bad situation be easy? Hell no.
Mm-mm.
Will it feel good right away? No. And will there be moments where you doubt yourself and think, I should just go back, or I'm lonely?
The I'm lonely usually gets people before the I should just go back. Because what happens is, I was just talking about this the other night with a dear friend. What happens is we get out of a situation, and then the immediate not so great stuff sort of falls off. It sloughs off to the side. And then our heart is imprinted with memories and really sweet, tender moments. And those things bubble back up. Now, for some people, it might be one tender moment. For other people, it might be a decade of tender moments.
Right.
But what happens is when a person, you can love, you are allowed to grieve leaving a toxic relationship. And you are also allowed permission to still love that person if loving them resonates with you. If you want to throat punch them, you're allowed to want to throat punch them too. You're not allowed to physically harm them, but because there are laws in place, but you're allowed to love them and grieve them. You're allowed to love them and despise them, because you're dealing with two different personas inside one body.
Mm.
So you're allowed that. And oftentimes we run into families and friends that say, oh my God, get out of there, leave them. They're horrible. They're this, they're that. And they've got all of this negativity, but that doesn't help the hurting heart. Right.
Mhm.
And also it doesn't give clarity to the person, like this woman that you're talking about. I'm
Mhm.
sure that, I mean, I could surmise probably what her life experiences and family dynamic was like, but for the sake of not passing judgment on her, I would say that there was probably a part of her that genuinely loved this man.
Mhm.
And when he was good to her, he was very good to her. And when he wasn't, he wasn't. But the breadcrumbs of good will somehow always outweigh the void of the not good. Because when
Mm.
someone is good to us, it releases dopamine in our body. And we love them for that. And we love that moment. And we want that moment to continue. But what we recognize is if it's a toxic person, those moments are fewer and fewer and fewer. And
Mm.
more crazy making coming and more crazy making coming and more crazy making coming. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean they're crazy. It just means that you both have to take accountability for what you're bringing to that table. And
Right.
if you're in a relationship like this gentleman that you're talking about at night
Mhm.
court, he would have to take accountability for his drinking. He'd have to take accountability for the way he treats her, and she would have to stop giving him permission to do that. Meaning,
Mm.
oh, it's okay. Oh, I know you didn't mean it. Not saying that she wasn't in a place where maybe she felt trapped. I totally get that. But with respect of our own accountability, we, and this is going to bristle some brows out there, but we have to take accountability for being in the positions that we're in with these toxic or unwell people,
Right.
because we play a role in it. We've accepted a role. And if we have accepted a role that we're going to fix them, heal them, help them, make them better, well, good luck with that. We're probably on the losing end of that. You have to want to put as much energy into yourself as you're willing to put into somebody else. And when you do,
Whew. Write that down, everybody. You have to be willing to put as much energy into yourself as you were willing to put into somebody else. That is huge. That's huge. That right there, that little nutshell, because that's the part we need to take accountability for, because
mm-hmm,
it's very easy to use someone else as the excuse for not taking care of all of this,
mm-hmm,
you know. And our unhealthy shows when we spend all of our time laying on the railroad track for someone else and don't take care of our own.
absolutely, absolutely, it'll show up, and it's
Uh,
damaging.
there it is on the screen. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. A Terryism, yes. And I call them Teri tools, Terryisms. That's those are the things that help me get through. Pulling that ripcord can be really, really scary, but that's when you need to double down. And I hate that term, but it is. You got to double down on what you do to get yourself healthy, and
You've
whatever
got
that means.
you've got to be willing to prioritize yourself, and also in the act of prioritizing oneself, you have to be willing to recognize that there's going to be some things that are going to be uncomfortable, and there are going to be times that you're going to run across that person, and you're going to have that little ping, because it's like, well, they're not really, I mean, they're not that bad. And I'm not saying pull wool over your eyes, but I am saying you have to prioritize yourself. That's a must, you know.
Put on the oxygen mask for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the plane and it's going down. There's something else that comes up too that I think that I encourage everybody. A lot of people will look at a program, and I'm going to list a program here that was very helpful to me. Aside from what Teri did for me, who I credit her for saving my life, because these tools were life saving for me, and I'm not even exaggerating here. It was very helpful. The second thing that I did, and I called it my MT, my mental therapy during the week. And I went to Al-Anon meetings, not because of alcohol, not because of anything else, because Al-Anon, taking responsibility for my own actions, and it gave me my steps to deal with of why I kept getting back in the same situation over and over and over. And it made me have to look at my part that I played. And when you say you play a role in your own abusive relationship, we all do. And that's hard. Now, it's not saying it's your fault and you're not causing it.
Not at all.
And that's another thing that is thrown out. It's one of those things. Well, if you didn't, blah, 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 I wouldn't, blah, blah, blah. That's all horse crap. It's just not that doesn't even, there's no excuse for any of bad behavior that's abusive. There's no excuse for that.
Well,
But
and then, go ahead.
no, but that's where we are in a situation. We have a tendency to, well, I did kind of egg this on, or I did kind of cause this, or no, back that up, back that truck up, senorita.
Yeah, well, and there's two ways. It's either well, I played a hand in this and I instigated, or it's I'm really trying to figure out what I did. Like, I really don't know what I did. And also, this can be, unwell. I mean, people can be in an unwell relationships with men or women. Like, this is not just a gender specific kind of thing that says that, only women or only men. It's unwell is unwell, and unwell does not discriminate. So,
Right.
Unwell, when it starts unfolding, you can see it. I said to somebody the other day, when you're in a relationship that you think is a good one, at least, maybe the better one that you've been in so far, and you're looking at it and it's like looking at a little origami thing, and you're like looking at it going, oh, look, this is really cute, and this is sweet, and this is then. You can't really see all the creases and the folds in it until you start unfolding it. And when you start unfolding that little origami thing, suddenly you're going like, oh, okay, here's how this is all put together. It doesn't require us to be the Hardy Boys or Nancy Drew. It requires us to take accountability. And when you recognize, hey, something's not right here, no matter, and hear me when I say this, no matter how much your heart may be breaking, you have to be willing to step away.
There's a mantra that I used to keep on a little Post-it note when I was trying to walk through the jello of life. And it says, be willing to lose. You have to be willing to lose. Healing means you have to be willing to lose what you came to save.
I've said to many people, there's been relationship in my life that I have been willing to walk away what I would have once fought to the death for. Mm-hmm. I was willing to walk away from it, not because I did not love that person, but because there was an inequity of truth. There was an inequity of respect. There was an inequity of compassion. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't live that way anymore.
Elizabeth adds, hard, bitter pill to swallow, but once we learn to look for our role, it changes our lives. It does. And she continues with, maybe not for everyone, but definitely for me, I got a lot of attention out of being a victim. Okay, y'all, that is some rigorous honesty right there. It felt good in an odd way to be the recipient of sympathy, and pity. Mm-hmm. And that, Elizabeth, thank you for that, because that's stepping right out there. And that is the truth that a lot of us don't like to share about a place we've walked through.
Mm-hmm.
To get out of the victim mindset. It's how we start every show, and that's what this is all about. Here's the role that I did. I allowed someone to treat me poorly. That's a role I played. I allowed it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized, uh, Ted Klontz told me in a thing that I went to with him, he said, you can't change somebody else. Every time you bring up they did, they did, they did, they did, he goes, you can't do anything about that. The only thing you can do is, well, here's what I did. Here's what I did. Here's that you can change. You can change that all day long. You can choose to do it differently. You can choose to live differently. You can choose to live somewhere else. And nothing that we are telling you is easy. And domestic violence, I am not saying it is light and it is easy, because it is dangerous as hell sometimes. And if you are trying to get out of a situation right now, there are some free resources that are out there, but be very careful with how you choose to leave.
Yes.
Be very careful. And the YWCA has some very, very important information they can share with you, but be careful what kind. I mean, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is our disclaimer, is that in this 30 minutes, we cannot give you all the things to get out. But if you want to reach out, there's a domestic violence hotline. There is the YWCA has some important information they can share. Do not do anything lightly when there is violence involved.
No, and the violence, to be clear, we're not. A lot of times, what happens is people think that it just has to be physical violence. It does not have to be just physical violence. It can be emotional violence. It can be mental violence. It can be verbal violence. Now, there is a criteria by which, the law is based on, and physical is typically the one that wins out there. But don't fool yourself to think that if they haven't laid hands on you, that you're not in a toxic relationship. Because if they are dysregulated, fancy word for unhinged, then what will happen is that will grow over time. And a lot of times that's going to be projected onto you. And you're going to be the one that they're going to say is initiating. And you're going to be the one that they're going to say is doing all of this stuff, which is untrue. But you have to find the ability to leave. You have to find that. And that's not always easy. I mean, there are things where people will, I had someone tell me one time, well, I never thought that they would actually mess with the brake line on my car, but now I'm wondering, and people joke about, and I say joke in a very sinister kind of way about the crazy things that people do when they don't want someone to leave a relationship. They will abuse someone in a relationship, and then when that person starts to leave the relationship, they will get very nice. But that nice only lasts. They can only hold nice. Their cup for nice is about the size of a thimble. Their cup for the other stuff that is comfortable and familiar, even if it's an comfortable, they have buckets of that. So the nice doesn't last very long, but the nice is full of emotional fly fishing or breadcrumbs, which are just enough of a dopamine push for the person who is trying to save the person to make them go, okay, well, maybe this time they're going to be different. They really do love me. Maybe this time it'll work. And there's no judgment, because there are people who this time it something does click. There are people who will get help. But there are also other people who, because of something called cognitive dissonance, they don't have the ability to relate to being better. And so they stay in that vein of unwell, unhealthy, abusive. And we have and not just partners in life. We have to watch family members. We have to watch how we interact with family members, and how we interact with siblings, and how we interact with coworkers, and how we interact with children. And because unwell is not just completely isolated for our partners. You know, it can be
Um,
anybody in our life.
yeah. And a shout out to Candy. She's relating to Elizabeth, and love the Halloween background. It's a harvest background.
We
It's
did. We
harvest
love
season.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's our pumpkin time in Tennessee. But I think, and this is another thing I'm going to bring up, because we always think about this as romantic relationships, but I have an inordinate amount of friends with adult children returning home.
Mm-hmm.
And because you gave birth to someone, or you adopted them and grafted them into your family vine, does not give a child who is an adult the right to walk on you, treat you poorly, be violent with you. None of those things are okay. And so
Right.
your adult children can be in this too. So I don't bring that up often, but those are domestic violence situations too. Just to be there are so many returning children right now because of whether it's student loans, or whether they can't get a job, or whether it was COVID or whatever. I cannot tell you how many adult children are returning home. And it's astounding how many are treating the parents really poorly. And whew, my goodness. And Elizabeth says it can also come from so-called friends. And
Mm-hmm.
it can happen with bosses and
Mm-hmm.
people in your workplace. These things, when people are bad for you, you have to be willing. If there is a change that needs to be made, let it begin with me. What can I change about my life? And one is, don't allow poor treatment. Number two is, plan your exit and go somewhere else. You are not a tree. You can move.
And also, I would say that 0.5 before we get to 1 is recognizing what needs to shift in you so that you can start to cultivate and create a space to really truly believe that you don't deserve it. Because unfortunately, there are people who have been raised with parents who are either physically, mentally, emotionally, financially unavailable. And emotionally, mentally unavailable parents, more so than physically or financially, set a precedence for their children that says something along the lines of, you don't deserve my time, you don't deserve my energy, you don't deserve my attention, take care of yourself. And then when they become adults, they look for people, not intentionally, but they
Mhm.
unconsciously look for people to help take care of them and to nurture them because they didn't get that growing up. And so
Mhm.
that's where the unhealthy person, they've got a freaking radar for that.
Mhm.
They spot it, and they spot it, and when they spot it, you've got to really either turn the back pedal on to back up out of that, or you have to find a place, hopefully in the future, to stand your ground, with it.
Mhm. And Douglas joins us. This is the first time we've talked to Douglas, and he joins us on YouTube. Parents can hurt you in the spirit and destroy your desire to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So the toxicity can work either way.
Absolutely. I know people who have adult children who they've lived with them for a while, and now they live like the adult child has bought their own home, and they live like 5 minutes from the mother and father, and the mother and father are there all the time telling the person how they don't know how to do this, and they don't know how to do that, and they don't know how to do this. And that person's spirit, Douglas is right, their spirit is broken, because it's just like, what do I do? I can't, I'm an adult and I don't know how to do anything. And it's like, that's our accountability of going, you know what, I'm an adult, that's fact, and I do know how to do things. And if I don't know how to do them, I know how to start circumventing the parents to find ways to become self-sufficient. You know, it's challenging when you're in the parent's home, because if a parent likes to enable, that's a great combination for a parent enabling and a parent playing the victim.
Mm.
And that flips, because then the adult child can enable and then they can also play the victim. And that's a toxic tango that you get
Ooh.
into.
Well, you guys, this is a big topic, and I'm sure in the next coming weeks, as we get into the holiday season, some of those toxic things, I don't know what it is about holidays, but everything gets turned up to a fever pitch.
I'll tell you what it is. It's the sense of obligation. It's familial obligation, where people are like, oh my gosh, I've got to now buy presents or go spend time with these people that I don't really want to spend time with. And now there's expectations, and now I've got to meet all these others' expectations while I'm also trying to take care of myself. That's what happens with most of my clients, that when September rolls around, there is a noticeable whew, that happens. Now, people that love fall time, they're like, I love the fall, and I'm pumpkin spice everything. I love the fall. But there are people who the heaviness of the seasons begin to weigh, because they know what's coming. They know they're going to be around the siblings, the aunts, the uncles, the parents that they otherwise only see once a year. And guess what? It's time to check that ticket, because it's that time of year. And so people get a little emotionally overwhelmed and energetically bogged down with that.
Mm-hmm. Elizabeth shares, big topic. Looking back on the toxic in my life makes me so much more grateful for the healthy and wonderful people in my life. Amen to the hallelujah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I next time maybe we can put a pin in this, and because I want to bring up the whole fear of what someone is going to do to you, say about you, that's going to destroy you. It's the verbal threats that come from people to keep us in our place and keep us where we're supposed to be, and the power of a lie out in the world, and how you have to and I'm not talking about the fear for your life. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when someone says, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to destroy your career. I'm going to say things about you, and people believe me. I can lie and they will still believe me. Those are very, very scary things. And so we'll do that in another show, because I want to open up that can, because I know that's kept me in some situations where I was scared to leave, because I go, well, what if they say this?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to empower you, baby. We're going to empower everybody to get out of that situation. Because first of all, nobody says that if they love you.
That's true. Nobody will threaten to destroy you if they genuinely love you. Those words would never cross their lips. And I can assure you this, they will say those things, and then they will turn around a week later and deny, hand the Bible, they never said it. And that's because people do what's called splitting, and they go into this place where they don't even know what they're saying, but it is a part of them. And it is a part of what they're thinking and what their subconscious is feeling. And they may not recognize it, but it's there.
Oh. And Candy says, relate, Devon. My ex did that all the time. Corinne said, I had that experience of someone trying to destroy my career with a lie.
Mm-hmm.
That happens so much. And so that's a big topic, words and the power of words. I believe in the power of words. I know there's a lot of power to that, but the power of a lie, how do we defeat that? So we'll pick that up next week.
I'll send you a meme that I saw on, I think I saw it on Instagram, and you can post it up when we do that particular. I guess we'll do that next week. We might as well, right? Let's just roll right on to it. Newsflash, folks, we're doing the power of a lie next week.
I know. That's what we do, because it's a big topic, and I want to, as we go into the holidays, we start girding it up, getting it ready. Corinne says t-shirts.
Yes, I'm actually putting them on Cafe Press, Corinne. I promise you that. They are going to go on Cafe Press. I'm working with Dana right now to make the logo a little smaller, because some of the logos were like real big. And we're going to put them on Cafe Press so that people can go there and they can buy shirts, mugs, bumper stickers, journals, tote bags, whatever it is they want to buy. They can buy it in the design that they want to purchase it in. So I am waiting on another person to help kind of wrap up those loose ends for me, and then they will be out there, and they will be out there in the next few weeks. I that much I can tell you.
Yay!
And the other thing that I will say is, and I'll go ahead and put this out there because we're talking about the untruths. The thing that I saw on Instagram was something along the lines of, people will try to destroy your life with a lie because the truth would destroy theirs. Boy. I don't have a microphone, but I got glasses.
Boom. That is awesome. That is so awesome.
So I'll send that to you so you can have it.
Y'all, this has been a really great time. I'm so glad that you joined us. And I have a retreat coming up that is at the end of October. It is a private retreat, but if you would like to find out some information about it, it's for the Nashville area, people who are in the Middle Tennessee area. And there are I think 3 spots left. But if you guys are interested, just reach out to me, devonoday@gmail.com. Teri, do you have event coming up? Anything coming up that you wanted to promote?
I have an event, a virtual event on October the 12th. It's from 6 to 7:30 Central Standard Time. It's $35 and it's open to 40 people. And it's living plugged in. So basically it's about how to hold your grief, your self-kindness or your self-care, your joy, your happiness, and your rest and your nutrition in a pocket where you can allow yourself to live plugged in rather than bobbing and weaving the way that we often do through life, without enough rest, without enough play, without nourishing our body, without holding our grief and sitting in. Nobody likes to sit in grief. I mean, as a grief specialist, I can tell you that nobody likes to sit in it. I don't even like to sit in it, but it is an intricate part of us learning how to navigate life and live plugged in. Right? So that we are in our body when we are living. Otherwise, we're not living. We're just going through the motions.
Well, so send something to me if you want to do the retreat. Put that in the subject line, devonoday@gmail.com. And Teri, how do they get in touch with you for the virtual workshop?
They can text me. If they go to teripugh.com, or if they go to any of my social media, my phone number's there, or they can email me, or they can send me a message on any social media platform, and, or hashtag it in the comments here, and I'll see that they get that information.
Perfect. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day. I love each and every one of you, and you make our show each and every week on Wednesdays at noon. This is Launch Date. Teri, you want to take us home?
Yes. So yes, I promise Corinne shirts are coming soon. And as always, we appreciate each one of you choosing to spend your time and your energy and share with us, because we love what we do and you make it all the better. And we truly do appreciate each and every one of you. And be mindful as you go through these next few days until we see you again next week, just to take just a few little moments out of each day to take care and focus on you. And if you start doing that a little bit at a time, you'll be amazed at how good it feels and how much more you want to do it and how much more you prioritize it. And until we see you next week, we all know the saying, everybody all together with me now. Increase
the peace.
Right. We'll see you all.
Bye.